so used to working with our own faces, and we're stuck with these. But when you have all that makeup on, it kind of frees you up. It makes you feel a little more comfortable to be artificial.
Hi, kids!
But great horror characters must go through a long development process before they are turned loose with a chainsaw or machete. First, they emerge from the minds of horror meisters like Wes Craven or Clive Barker, creator of the Hellraiser films.
You know, I've been storyboarding this, and I've kept coming back to the image of the teeth closing around him in a different direction. Almost like a Venus flytrap, you know?
An accomplished artist as well as writer, Barker communicates his ideas visually to the effects team, who will bring his creatures to life. Gary Tunnicliffe and the crew at Image Animation International have created the makeup for the first 3 Hellraiser films and are about to embark on Hellraiser 4, Bloodline.
Nobody escapes awesome.
With a normal director, you show them a drawing and they look at it and they kind of have an idea for a change. With Clive, he will take that drawing and he will put a piece of paper down and he will draw what he wants.
Hellraiser's star and leader of the film's sadomasochistic Cenobites is the incomparable Pinhead.
We'll tear your soul apart.
At Image Animation's Southern California studio, Tunnicliffe works on a new makeup design to be worn by Doug Bradley, who plays the needle-headed monstrosity. Tunnicliffe first sketches a layout for the latex facial pieces called appliances, which will be used for the makeup. The layout is sketched onto a plaster cast of Bradley's head.
Sculpt the back, run one out of foam.
Next, the sculpting process begins. Tunnicliffe uses an oil-based clay called plastiline to fashion Pinhead's hairless skull and trademark grid. This grid, carefully laid out so it is evenly proportioned across the skull, was not part of the original makeup design.
What happened was somebody drew a graph on a bust in order to make sure the pins were even. And as soon as everyone saw the graph, they said, perfect, leave the graphic.
Once the sculpting is complete, the appliances are cast out of foam latex. When this process is finished, they are prepared for the all-important final step. Only now can Tunnicliffe begin the application of the 138 nails that appear to be driven into Pinhead's skull. Each of the hand-painted plastic protrusions is affixed to one of the appliances with super glue.
In a perfect world, we'd just hammer nails straight into Doug's head. But for some reason, he's really against that. Actors.
Finally, the makeup is ready to be applied to the star himself. While Bradley has played the role 3 times before, Tunnicliffe makes subtle changes to the makeup for each film.
The truth is that if I am standing still doing nothing, the makeup and the costume are screaming off that screen. So, in a way, the less I do, the better it reads. And I have to just come to terms with that.
Once in full makeup, Bradley takes his gruesome visage to the set. When the camera rolls, Pinhead comes to life, and one of Hollywood's most horrific adversaries takes center stage.
This is a holocaust.
What you're looking at is a guy with nails in his head. It's a horrendous idea, but your eyes are drawn to the image, and you look at it. And why? Because there's something about it very regal, very ordered. It's a great image, and it's one that if only we could create again and again.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
When we return, we'll meet the man who changed the face of horror makeup forever with The Exorcist. Long before the days of Freddy and Pinhead, a young makeup artist named Dick Smith revolutionized the craft of special makeup effects. Smith's inventive spirit and passion for realism evolved during his 15 years as the head of NBC's makeup department. His early feature film work was highlighted by transforming Dustin Hoffman into the 121-year-old Jack Crabb in Little Big Man.
I started doing makeup way back in 1945, and I got into television. There wasn't anything like special makeup effects in those days. It wasn't until I worked on The Exorcist in 1972, I guess it was, that there was even a call for the kind of change on camera that was required.
The Exorcist tells the story of a young girl named Reagan who is possessed by the devil. The lead role was given to an unknown actress named Linda Blair.
Really, the hardest thing on The Exorcist was arriving at Linda Blair's Reagan Demon makeup. I did a series of about 5 or 6 different makeups on her with appliances. First, just to see if I could make her look mean. I mean, this sweet little, apple-cheeked girl.
The testing process, seen in these rare camera tests, went on for weeks. Blair and her photo double, Eileen Dietz, gamely endured more than 5 hours per day in the makeup chair.
Some of them were overdone at first. Finally, we arrived at something that looked like it was workable, and I perfected it.
But Blair's makeup was only the beginning. The film required an incredible number of special rigs and mechanical devices to achieve such demonic effects as Reagan's vacant eyes, serpentine tongue, and unforgettable 360-degree head turn. To accomplish the effect, Smith designed and built a life-size dummy of Linda Blair, complete with rotating head. Smith first cast a Linda Blair dummy in foam latex. Working with special effects man Marcel Vercouter, he then configured the dummy's rotating head and animated the face with radio-controlled eyes. One of Smith's biggest challenges was the scene in which Reagan showers 2 priests in satanic vomit.
Eventually, I worked out a way of molding flat tubes out of heat-forming plastic that could be connected with a kind of a pipe that went through the mouth. A partial mask was fitted over to conceal it and to make her look like the Reagan demon, and the rest of the makeup was conformed to that. Then the special effects man could pump pea soup right through this thing, and it would spray out at the camera or whatever.
The vomit effect was a tremendous success, and to this day is a lasting image in the minds of the film's fans. While Smith's makeup effects for The Exorcist mainly involved altering his subject's face, the 1980 film Altered States required full body transformations that were entirely unprecedented. In Altered States, Dr. Edward Jessup, played by William Hurt, experiments with untested drugs, which cause his body to go through a series of agonizing contortions.
The most challenging thing about the Altered States assignment was in transforming someone from head to foot with foam rubber. I mean, a huge suit. Now, to make that look believable was technically and artistically frightening.
Smith spent more than 4 weeks sculpting the amorphous contours of 3 full-body suits out of plastiline clay. While the suits had to represent dramatic distortions of the human form, it was important to Smith that Hurt be able to express emotion through them as well. Then came the most difficult part. To allow Hurt to quickly get in and out of the suits on the set, Smith had each suit cast as a single piece of foam latex. The enormous plaster molds were constructed with large filling holes to accommodate the massive syringes used to inject the foam. The normally predictable baking or curing process had to be carefully monitored, as Smith had never before cooked up such large batches of foam. A custom oven even had to be constructed to accommodate the immense molds. Removing the appliances from the molds also required special care. Any damage to the suit at this point meant that the elaborate process would have to be repeated. Finally, Smith carefully trimmed and hand-painted the suits. When the finished pieces were presented to star William Hurt at a camera test, he was overwhelmed with the depth of Smith's artistic achievement.
What he had done was he had actually created with his hands a sculpture, a living sculpture, which was just phenomenally expressive of the progression into agony, and that howling sorrow, that incomprehensible agony was something that he wanted